In 1988, I was around 9 years old when it happened. I don't remember the exact date. I did tell my best friend that I'd experienced something weird. Since I was unharmed by the experience, I brushed it aside, kept it to myself, and moved on. Other people told me that I'd been unconscious for around 1 to 2 minutes. I was at school, it must have been autumn or spring. The weather was nice and I had lightweight clothes on. Scotland is very dark and cold in the winter, so I know it wasn't then. I'd heard that some kids in other schools were doing this technique for self-induced unconsciousness. I thought it sounded interesting, so decided to give it a try. We didn't understand at the time, but this can have the effect of stopping blood flow to the brain, and subsequently causing unconsciousness. I later heard that this technique can be fatal in some cases, or lead to severe aftereffects. I tried this a few times on the playground during recess. A couple of other friends tried also. It didn't seem to work. I must have tried again in the hallway of the school, but I don't remember initiating it. This time it was successful. I suddenly found myself in a different realm. It was formless, light, and colorful. I didn't see anyone. It was like a soft, light bath. I was fully surrounded in and a part of this light. I felt at one with the light and at peace. I was definitely me, but I didn't have a body. In this place, my old life didn't exist. I had no thought of the life on earth. I was just there, and there was perfect. Then I felt a strange, sucking sensation. It felt like I was being pulled into and becoming something else at the same time. As I got closer, I could see my old life coming back to me. I suddenly remembered I had this other life with school, family, and friends. I had a sinking feeling of, oh no, not this, and I knew I'd have to face all the mess of normal life again. I even had this feeling about my own family. Although I loved them, my family was imperfect and unhappy in many ways. The realm I visited is so hard to quantify or describe. Because it was totally formless, so it was purely a subjective experience. There is no way to explain it to other people. When I came back to my body, I recognized my life with the feeling of, oh, this thing again. It was as if I had forgotten about this life, but then remembered it only when I came back into the body. In my life I've experienced many altered states of consciousness, but nothing was like that. I've had dreams and nightmare like most people, and I've also taken psychedelic drugs, including quite a few trips on strong doses of magic mushrooms that grow in the wild in Scotland. I was in my late teens and early 20s when I did those. For me, the drug trips were almost all terrible nightmares. During that time, I was very depressed, which probably made those experiences more negative. I remember one trip where I went very deep into negative mental states and thought I'd never recover. The feeling was like, now that I see things this way, I can never unsee them. So I'll never be able to reset back to normal mental state. Of course, I did reset a day or two later. So, the fears were unfounded. But I mention this to highlight that my NDE experience was nothing like an acid trip. In the acid trip, it's fundamentally a mental experience. For instance, you know you're on planet Earth and you know you've taken a substance. But then your mind starts telling you things about the nature of reality and of yourself. Maybe reality is X or Y, or maybe I am doomed or blessed. But either way, I'm still here on planet Earth, amongst these people, and in my body. It's just that the filter I see everything through, even the filter of my own thoughts and mental state, is radically distorted. With the NDE experience, I was no longer in the physical dimension at all. It was not a distorted version of this reality, but an entirely different type of reality altogether. Again, it's very hard to explain, but that's all I can really say. During the last 30 years, I lost connection to the source or spirit. I became incredibly depressed, fearful, and anxious. I have struggled with low confidence and self-esteem. Yet, I've gradually managed to rebuild my internal life, piece by piece. Recently, I quit my jobs and decided to find out what this life is all about. I suddenly had strong memories of my NDE. And started looking into other NDE reports and watched videos like the interviews by Anthony Chain on YouTube. I know my experience is true. I'm very grateful to all NDErs for sharing their experiences. It's really hard to do, and even harder to integrate that experience into normal life. I hope I can get better at that, and in doing so make a genuinely positive contribution to the world.